How many genders are there?
It's a spectrum, so like a lot.
Can you name me a few?
You can be man, female. You could be there's so many. A demi girl, a demi boy.
This is a stupid question.
How many are there?
I don't want to participate anymore.
I don't think there's really an answer to that, given that gender is kind of a social construct, so it's different for every person and also in different cultures.
I love how scared to answer this question some of these students are. And it's due to the fact that this is the American religion. Like, it is not something that people have been convinced of. It's not something that happened through persuasion and people genuinely believe this. It's like, you have to believe this or there's consequences. And this is why, like, the first girl was afraid to answer and some of the other individuals are afraid to answer. And this is like what America teaches. It teaches people to be sheep. It's like, follow orders, do what you're told, don't ask questions. Do you think this is how people used to be taught at universities 30 years in the past? Or was it more like people were taught to be independent? Like, which is a more valuable person to a society? An individual that's actually independent, capable of thinking for himself and finding solutions to the problems presented, or a person that has to wait for the fact checker. They have to wait for someone above, someone on top, to tell him what to think, what to believe. It's very concerning because it's not just about gender, right? It's almost about everything nowadays. Like, you have something that's happening in society and you are told, this is the correct line of thinking, you have to think this. And I know that, for example, during the pandemic, you had individuals that would watch the television and the television would say at the same time, it's like, you need to stay home and stay safe, shut down your business, go into debt because the virus is deadly. And literally the next moment, I'm not kidding, like in the same day, they would say, you need to go out, you need to protest because civil rights, you need, right? Like, how can you hold these two beliefs in your head at the same time? And the answer is that most people don't believe them. It's just like they know what to say so that their friends accept them. And the irony is that their friends probably think the same, right? So you may have a group where everyone is saying the thing, even though no one believes the thing. Okay, right, let's go back to gender a little bit, because this is, like, very interesting. Like, what exactly is a social construct, right? Like, I keep saying, like, this is a social construct, and it's almost like if it's a social construct, it means, like, you can discard it and replace it with, like, what, another social construct? But anyway, right, so I want you to think back in a time when people used to live in tribes, right? And language was something that was barely starting to be developed. Now, what is the purpose of language, right? To communicate with others. So like, imagine the first person, like the first human, going into a cave for the first time, right? And he experiences everything that's in a cave. He experiences darkness, moisture, stalactites, stalagmites, mud, right? And he gives names to these things. He names them. And when he goes out of the cave, he can tell the other tribes members what he discovered without the other tribes members actually having to go in the cave. So like, this is something that animals can't do, right? Like, it's something that only humans can do. Like, you can see another human being and you can explain to him something that you saw and he didn't. And now he knows what you saw, right? So how do we do this? We do this through language, right? Through words. Now, obviously, the first person that went into the cave chose the words that he would assign to various things. Like, he chose stalactite, he chose stalagmite. Like, completely arbitrary. Now, the reason that the person did this was to classify the objects, right? Like, to give them names so that it's easier to communicate. But here's where the interesting part comes in, right? When you have, like, the woke individuals, the woke individuals believe that the first man was probably a cisgender, heteronormative, straight, white, patriarchal, capitalist pig. Well, that's neither here nor there. They believe that the person that went into the cave gave the definitions with the purpose of obtaining power. So, like, he wanted to create the language in order to oppress the popsicle, right? Because the popsicle, if he wants to be a stalagmite, he can't, because a stalagmite is a stalagmite and a popsicle is a popsicle. So basically, in order to fix this injustice, they are saying, okay, well, stalagmite is a social construct because it was named so arbitrary by the first person. So we can name them popsicle as well. Like if the stalactite wants to identify as a popsicle, it can, right? So that we can fight oppression. And this is like the major focus of woke ideology. Like one of the primary goals is to change and reshape language. So for instance, when they say, do not use the word illegal, right? Because no human being is illegal. You need to use undocumented migrant. So in other words, like someone that may have documents, just forgot them. Like it's soon to be documented, right? But it's definitely not like, because when you say illegal, it's a crime, right? Like it's not that the person is illegal. It is that he is on a space illegally, right? Like he didn't go through the checkpoint. He didn't go through the proper proceedings. He violated the border, so therefore he is on ground without the right to be there. It's kind of like, the people that acknowledge that they're on stolen land, kind of like that. but as like the woke definition. Anyway, right, so they want to change the language in order to reshape how people think, right? Like if a person doesn't get the idea in their head or isn't allowed to even express it, then it normalizes the concept that words and definitions are interchangeable. They can expand the definition or retract it depending on how they want. They can add new definitions, right? Like for instance, they can consider that jokes are now violence, right? So basically, if someone makes a joke, then attacking them for it is like self-defense. They can also consider that actual violence is not the problem, right? Like in Defense of Looting, there's this famous book on Amazon. So like this is what they're doing. They're constantly changing definition. They're constantly playing with words in order to further their agenda. Like for instance, the word sexualizing, right? Like they use this a lot. And when you hear like this anime sexualized the minor, like you're thinking that the minor was placed in a sexual context, right? Because that's what the word means. But in reality, what they actually want to say, like by using the word sexualizing, is they're saying it was dressed in a sexy outfit, right? So like if you're talking about a 17-year-old that went to prom and wore a cleavage, now you see that the phrase, the anime, like My Hero Academia, which has no porn in it, is that right? They will say that the anime My Hero Academia sexualized the minor because like they had a 17-year-old in a dress that had some cleavage, and that is what they're saying. But they want you to believe that the anime actually, like had a 5-year-old that was dressed inappropriately, right? That whole thing is to fight against the male gaze, to demoralize teenagers for being like in charge and having like a healthy sexuality. Like an 18-year-old, right, is attracted to like anime girls. Like that's not something abnormal. That's not something concerning, right? Like when I was a kid, I used to like Bulma. Like that's not something bewildering. But by using this type of language, what they are actually trying to accomplish is to say, well, no, like this is very dangerous, right? Like anime is harming society. Either you put us in charge so we can fix it by localizing it and you pay us money to do so, or just stop watching anime and watch Netflix instead, right? It's just one example of what social constructs are. It's like the thing that you can just change words willy-nilly however you want it. The original people that made language didn't make it to oppress anyone. They just made it to describe things. Woke individuals convince themselves, like gaslight themselves, that if the original people did language in order to oppress others, they're going to actually reshape language in order to oppress the other people so that historically the scales get balanced, right? Because like, believe it or not, woke people don't believe in equality. They believe in oppression. It's just like, you need to oppress the correct people now that used to be the oppressors in the past. So by oppressing them now in the present, you create like this historical justice where I guess like the people from the present get to face the blood guilt and have to redeem the sins of their ancestors through suffering. It's a very interesting ideology when you actually stop a little bit and put it into words what they genuinely think, right? It's interesting because most of these students probably don't even know what they think, but the university professors definitely do. The students just do what they're told, right? Like, the students is like, okay, well, this is what I need to believe. This is what I'm going to believe. They probably don't actually stop to think. But the academic university professors definitely know. Anyway, right, let me know what you guys think, though. And I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.